Welcome to the virtual office hours. My name is John Fia. I am the chair of the history department at Messiah College. We are here in the courtyard of the Presbyterian Historical Society at 5th and Lombard in Philadelphia, the Society Hill area of Philadelphia. We are doing some research here. We promised that we would be taking the office hours on the road this summer. Here's our next stop here in Philadelphia. One of the things, I've worked at the Presbyterian Historical Society maybe now for almost 20 years. I've been coming here doing research. I researched my first book here. I'm researching this new project on Presbyterians and the American Revolution. One of the things I love is these statues of these Presbyterian leaders, these huge statues that they have here in front of the building. To my immediate left over here is Francis Makemie, who was an Irish Presbyterian who established the Philadelphia Presbytery in, I think it was 1706 off the top of my head. He died shortly thereafter, but a very important person in the history of American Presbyterianism. If you follow me down here along this kind of alley of statues, we come to John Witherspoon. Those of you who read The Way of Improvement Leads Home, you know that John Witherspoon was the mentor to Philip Vickers Fithian. Of course, known as the president of the College of New Jersey, one of the leaders of the American Revolution, only minister to sign the Declaration of Independence, and also one of the prime architects of the Presbyterian General Assembly, which is created in 1788. So what would the Presbyterian Historical Society be without Witherspoon? And in fact, the building here is called the Witherspoon Building. And then over here is John Macmillan. To be honest with you, I don't know much about Macmillan. He's a Princeton graduate. I do know that Philip Vickers Fithian ran into him in the Shenandoah Valley in the 1770s. So maybe even been a classmate of Fithian. I'd have to go back and check on that. But another important Presbyterian minister, did a lot of itinerancy during the American Revolution. We got some more statues over here, and we'll be right back. This statue is Samuel Davies, a Virginia evangelical in the 18th century, very important for bringing the Great Awakening, at least the Presbyterian Great Awakening, into the South, into Virginia. Another president of the College of New Jersey at Princeton as well. Again, a very important figure in the history of American Presbyterianism. Over here we have James Caldwell. I'll say something more about him in a few minutes because we're really here today to study some aspects of his life. And down the way a little bit we have Marcus Whitman, who's a little bit of a younger Presbyterian. I'm not really sure who Whitman is. We'll have to go look him up at some point while we're doing research in the archives. The main person though we want to focus on is James Caldwell. You can see him here with his kind of patriotic three-corner hat, carrying his Bible and his robe. Many people refer to him as one of the black-robed clergy, the clergy that supported the American Revolution. I and my research assistants, who you'll meet in a second, and you've seen in previous office hours, we're working on the history of the Elizabethtown Presbyterian Church in New Jersey, and specifically looking at James Caldwell, who was the minister in that church at the time of the American Revolution. So we're combing the archives for things here as a huge bus just goes by. We're combing the archives here, trying to find out more information about Caldwell. What we know is three things about Caldwell, or Caldwell's significant for three things. One, his wife, Hannah, is some say murdered, some say accidentally shot. We're actually trying to get to the bottom of that while she's in the Caldwell parsonage during the Battle of Connecticut Farms during the Revolution. And that becomes such a storied part of Elizabethtown's history that even today, if you look at the Union County, New Jersey seal, the county seal, they have a picture of Hannah Caldwell being shot by the British. The second thing Caldwell is often brought up about is this famous Give 'em Watts boys story, in which apparently the British troops were moving in on his parsonage. They ran, and the American soldiers ran out of bullets. So Watts pulled out, or I should say Caldwell pulled out all of the Watts hymn books, Isaac Watts hymnals, and ripped out pages and handed it to the soldiers and said, "Here, you don't have any bullets, give 'em Watts boys." I'm a little suspect that event even happened. But we're going to do some research on that. And then finally, Caldwell's death, some might say his murder, even his assassination is very interesting. He's shot by an American sentry getting off a boat. The sentry wants to check him for, make sure he's not smuggling materials. And when Caldwell says that Caldwell won't let him check his bag, the guy shoots him, which has raised all kinds of conspiracy theories about whether or not this American sentry named Morgan, I think James Morgan, was working for the British. Morgan is quickly executed after put on trial and executed for the murder of James Caldwell. So this is a very intriguing guy. We're going to learn more about him later on in the summer. We're going to take a trip to Elizabethtown, see what's going on there, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this project, this consulting project that we're working on for that church, who's very interested in creating a Presbyterian museum and learning more about their pastor. So we're on the road with the office hours. We're here in this great research facility devoted to American Presbyterianism, and we're making progress. With Brianna Lacasse, we have been working in the Presbyterian Historical Society today, yesterday and today. We're actually here in the beautiful courtyard. What have you been working on today, Brianna?
Well, I've been reading the minutes from the Presbyterian Philly, which is really interesting because it's from the 1758 to late 1770s, and there are all sorts of minutes ranging from which minister should be preaching where to theological problems that the local churches are having. One of the most interesting things that I came across was actually the ministers decided that they were going to fast and pray on the same day for the morality of their preachers and for the morality of their country, specifically for national affairs.
Yeah.
So it was really the only time that I found them actually praying for the outside community and praying for their nation in general.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. And actually, coincidentally, was May 30th, which is the date today. So I thought that was
May 30th. That's for filming this.
Yes.
So that's interesting because as late as this is like probably mid 1760s, maybe late 1760s, post Stamp Act. They're talking about it in terms of national affairs. Now, did you get the sense that it was when they talked about national affairs? Did you get the sense of being like national being the United States, or could it have been British national affairs, or what was your take on that?
I couldn't exactly get which national affairs they were concerned about.
Yeah.
There was definitely a sense of urgency, and never before and never since reading have they ever mentioned any concern for the national identity, for their countrymen, for anything. They always stuck very, very, very closely to the tasks at hand. So this was honestly the only time they ever broke from general affairs, so to speak. But there was definitely a sense of urgency and concern for the piety and for the morality.
So when you say they broke from general affairs being like the normal business of the church, who's going to preach where and that kind of
very,
stuff.
Very business stuff.
Yeah, interesting. I think you see this more and more during the course of, as you get closer to the Revolution, you see the Presbyterian Church actually engaging more fully with political and public events. So great. We're plowing ahead. Good work, man. Good work, Brianna. We're here now with Megan Keller, who is also with us here in the Presbyterian Historical Society working today. What documents have you been reading, Megan, today?
I've been looking through the meeting minutes of the New York Presbyterian.
Okay, what years?
I was in early 1770s to 1780 is where I stopped.
Okay, and again, mostly looking for things probably related to James Caldwell and the American Revolution. What was the most interesting, at least to you, thing you found so far today?
The most interesting thing that I read, I think, was when Caldwell, in the meeting minutes, they had announced that Caldwell had been called to serve as chaplain with the army during the Revolution.
Okay,
Cool.
So he's daily, every month he's there, and then all of a sudden he's not there, and they say he's been called to become a military chaplain.
Yeah, and then he was gone, and then we're assuming when the British were in Manhattan, they stopped meeting because of that. So he wasn't there for about 2 years because of his military service, and then what was going on.
Is there a gap? Once the British occupy Manhattan, is there a gap in the minutes at all, the Presbyterian minutes? Because obviously most of the Presbytery is patriotic. So did you notice anything like that?
Yeah, it was a time gap of about 2.5 years.
Oh wow! And there's nothing. They
There's
just
nothing.
jumped from what,
Yeah.
about 1776 to 78, or
I
what
think it was
was
like 77 to 79. or
79.
something like
Yeah, that's pretty
that.
common in Presbyterian minutes. I mean, I see it in Philadelphia a little bit too. Good. Anything else that struck you? Or?
The other thing that I thought was interesting was a couple times they said, "Oh, we're going to now start to pray on the last Thursday of every month
Okay.
for the solemn state of
Okay.
affairs."
And this was when, roughly around?
During the Revolution.
During the Revolution. Yeah, so again, it's these. We saw this in Brianna too. These political events sort of bring out the presbytery. They have to speak to these things rather than just going through business as usual.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll keep going forward. We'll read a lot of Presbyterian minutes today.